It is 1 o'clock. Good afternoon from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Jackson Williams. In NFL news, Chiefs head coach Andy Reid told reporters today that they want to wait for the swelling in Rashee Rice's knee to subside before the wide receiver undergoes additional testing on that knee from the injury sustained last week. Raiders wide receiver Davante Adams is not expected to play Sunday versus the Broncos due to his hamstring injury. Head coach Antonio Pierce declined to comment about the trade speculation at his press conference, saying Davante is rehabbing and the rest of us are focusing on Denver. Nashville Soccer Club fell to DC United last night by a score of 4-3. Nashville led most of the way, but 2 stoppage time goals by DC United's Gabriel Pirani gave DC the win over Nashville. Nashville has 2 regular season games left. The next being this Sunday against NYCFC. You can catch that game on the Zone app starting at 2:30 on Sunday. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you need to visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
It's a Tennessee Thursday here on Blaine and Zach on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. I'm Zach Lyons. He's Blaine Bishop, and you can join the conversation by calling in at 615-737-1045. We're going to be talking about the Tennessee Volunteers taking on the Arkansas Razorbacks. So also jump into the YouTube chat, the Twitch chat, Facebook Live. It doesn't matter. Zone TV, F&M Bank chat is where you can talk to us. And, of course, we're going to be joined by Ben McKee on the next segment to talk some Tennessee Volunteers and their matchup coming up. And Blaine, Arkansas kind of presents a little bit of the same, I guess, against Oklahoma. Like, Arkansas has a really good defense. They're going to probably want to keep it on the ground a little bit differently because, you know, they kind of went on Jackson Arnold's arm, and then that quarterback, whose name escapes me, that came in for Oklahoma. And this quarterback for Arkansas is not very good, but he's really good at running the ball, and they have a really good rushing attack. So I think they're going to try and drag Tennessee into the mud and make it a fight in the trenches and all that kind of stuff this week. It's got me feeling there could be a little bit of under. I have to look and see what the under is right now, but you know, maybe you want to sprinkle a little bit of money on that under this week.
What's the number? You know exactly?
I said I'll have to look it up here in just a second.
Yeah, I hadn't watched Arkansas besides some highlights, so I'm gonna have to go back and watch them a little bit to see. You know, you're playing in Arkansas too, so you just never know when the pigs start calling, you know, and everything. So yeah, I'm interested. They want to get in the mud against this defense.
I think they want to. Here's what I want. I think
maybe
they want to.
That's the only way they can play.
That's what I'm saying. Okay, I think that's the only way they can win.
To have a shot at winning.
Yeah, to have a shot at winning. I do kind of look at it as if they won 7-6, they'd be happy. Like, I think that's ultimately the kind of game they may not win. I don't think they're going to win.
They've lost some close games, though,
but
right?
they've lost some close games. They're a ranked team in SEC. Competitors, they've kept the ball roughly 33 time of possession, 33 minutes time of possession, and I think that's basically they just want to run it. That's where they want to get their first downs. That's how they want to convert, and they have a really stout defensive line as well. Veteran presences everywhere, but not only that, their pass defense is pretty good. They have 6 interceptions over 4 games. One of the best in the SEC in terms of pass defenses. So it's not. Listen,
they kind of
Tennessee wins offense versus offense. Tennessee clearly has the better offense. Ain't no bones about it. But this defense, it's going to be a lot like Oklahoma. It ain't going to be easy sledding for Tennessee is all I'm saying. I think Tennessee's definitely going to win.
They used to be with Tennessee.
Yeah.
Danico Slaughter.
Yeah, and Danico Slaughter's over there. Their center is also over there as well, and they both were named team captains this week for this game.
Oh, all right. You trying to poke the bear there a little bit just for this week?
I don't know if that's smart for Sam Pittman or not, but that's what they're doing.
Oh, man, yeah. Are those guys, they both starting, so I'm assuming they're playing pretty decent there. So
yeah, not
was
too
a
bad.
Good player. He was a good, solid player there at Tennessee. So hey man, he's gonna be something to deal with for sure. I'm sure he'll be a little pumped up to play at Tennessee. But don't make it personal. It's always hard not to make it personal.
Right now, the spread is 13.5 in favor of Tennessee. The over-under is 60 points. Kind of feeling the under. I don't know if I'll feel that way by the time we end up finishing the discussion with Ben McKee. But, we were kind of feeling the same thing on Oklahoma last time we had Ben McKee on, and it ended up working out. I'm kind of feeling it here. I do think, though, Tennessee's going to have a more decisive win. I do think so. Like, here, it's kind of weird, right? Like, I think they're going to win by 14. But I think it's going to be under. Like, it could be like 14-0 for all we know. That's what I'm saying.
Please do not do that.
I think it'd be a fun game.
Oh, no. I'm a defensive guy. I do not know. I want to see, 35-14 or
there
something.
That still puts you in the under, so I can roll with that.
I cannot. That is true. So I know they got a solid defense, as you mentioned, but this team, they're after a bye. Maybe they're a little sloppy early, timing's off. But, once the game gets started, I think Tennessee, if they want to be who they think they are, they got to win this game and look like they brought a can of what for this game. So as much I respect them, they're going to try to make it a slow, methodical slog, fight. I think that's going to change. I don't know if their defense isn't as good as Oklahoma, but I get what you're saying. They're good. I just think they're going to get them.
I mean, they're just
2 weeks off. I think Heupel's going to. I think he's going to come up with some stuff on offense. Offense is going to look better. I just feel like this is a comfortable, solid, can of what whooping.
Greg Burton in the F&M Bank chat on YouTube, he says 35-0 in favor of the Volunteers, I would assume. That still puts them in the under, so I'm okay with that. So there you go.
That is it.
I kind of look at it in this defense for Arkansas, like I said, a lot of takeaways. They have a stout, experienced group. This ain't a young group, which sometimes can benefit you. But at the end of the day, this will be, I think, as good a test for Nico as the Oklahoma game, just because if you can avoid the takeaways or giveaways, I guess, on his end, right. If you can avoid the giveaways, that is a good little resume builder for Nico's Heisman cases in the future, which he's not really out of the race quite yet, even though it's, Jalen Milroe has put up that big performance against Georgia. And, of course, Ryan Williams, his Heisman odds have increased after that game as well. And, Shadur Sanders and other players as well. Nico's not out of it, and this could be a good little resume builder and confidence builder heading into Florida the following week. Not into Florida, but the Florida game.
I know the fans are all into the Heisman. I could care less. I want to see his development. I want to see him continue to check mark all the tests. Another road game. See if he can be a little bit better with the turnovers. And some of it not his fault. Naturally, the ball gets hit while you're trying to throw the ball. They had some issues at tackle. Both the tackles going to. I think there's no issue there. They're healthy. I just want to see him continue to just grow as a player, and I feel firmly confident that that'll happen. Based off of what he's done and just his calm demeanor and temperament playing the position. Heisman, I think, maybe out the boat, but as long as he peaks at the right time against the right teams, it could be something, special. One thing that you said, if they lost Tennessee to Georgia and Alabama, do they still make the playoffs at 10-2?
Ooh, it's a little too early to tell, because I do think that even if you go through the rest of the way, get some blowouts on your against some SEC opponents, and then you barely lose those games.
Right.
Well, those guys, then I still think they could be the fourth team out of the SEC, because obviously it'd be Georgia, Texas, Alabama, and another fourth team. I always think there's going to be a fourth team, and I still think that would be Tennessee in this case, because Missouri lost recently. Ole Miss lost recently, and I think that was a big loss on their resume compared to losing to Georgia. Because sometimes, one loss can look worse than two losses in this whole scheme of how, putting people in playoffs and looking at resumes and stuff like that. When you have all these people in the room, you could say, well, they lost to number 9 Georgia and number 5 Alabama. Barely. Now, if they get blown out, we're having a different conversation. So that's why I just kind of think right now it's a little too early to tell.
Reason why I bring that up, Heather Dinich, she said that if they lost to Georgia and Alabama, that they wouldn't make the playoff. And I was like, whoa.
I think that's just too early.
I don't know what she was thinking, about the other teams that would make it over Tennessee, even with those 2 losses, even if it was close losses. She didn't,
Well, I mean, we just saw Florida State not make the championship after being undefeated, and Alabama make it because they beat Georgia, and Georgia almost made it in. Like, people thought Alabama and Georgia would both make it in at last year, and and to me,
is it just not enough spots?
It's not as last year was just not enough spots, but now I think there is enough spots. See, that's the difference. So I respectfully disagree because first off, it's too early to tell. We don't know. Are we talking about Georgia, Alabama, SEC championship teams, or are we that they lost to, or where are we talking about? What did the other teams do? Did Missouri drop to? Did Ole Miss drop to? Because SEC is always going to get a bigger bump over someone else because it's the SEC. And Tennessee, people may not want to think that this matters. Tennessee's going to bring ratings, right? When they're discussing in this room and talking about the teams that can bring competition that deserve to be in, some of that's going to be factored in by the business they can bring in with them as well when they're in that room. When these people are discussing this, all that's on the table. And I don't think it's as cut and dry. I don't think anybody can make it as cut and dry right now like that, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, when we come back, see if Ree can find that Heather Dinich quote about, Tennessee, if they lost both games to Alabama and Georgia, that they would not. I just wanted to see where she was coming from. Maybe I missed something there. And you say exactly what I was thinking.
My thing is,
they still should make it.
Well, if it's 2 losses and those are your 2 losses, how did they lose? Maybe she's saying that they lost in a blowout. I don't know. But I just don't think that's going to be the case. I think trying to predict what the 12-team committee, how they're going to pick the 12 teams without any kind of knowledge of how they're actually going to pick 12 teams since it's the first time, it's way too early to make sweeping declarations like that, in my opinion. When we come back, we'll talk to Ben McKee. We'll talk about the Tennessee Volunteers and Arkansas Razorbacks. I'm Zach. He's Blaine. This is Blaine and Zach. 104.5 The Zone.
Have you noticed how unreliable things have become these days? Like when someone tells you it'll be ready at 4 p.m. and it's not. People are really tired of that stuff. So if you had the unreliable vehicle repair shops, come on over to Reliable, and that'll be Eurofix. And Eurofix turns unreliable into reliable, and Eurofix has your vehicle ready when they really say it's going to be ready, and you won't be standing around waiting all freaking day. And Eurofix repairs all European cars with quality that beats the dealer and without the dealer pricing. And that's because the dealer repair shops are designed to pay virtually all of the dealership's overhead, and that's a lot of money. And why would you want to pay for that? Well, at Eurofix, Reliable also means 3-year nationwide warranty plus a free loaner car with every repair appointment. So make sure you call ahead, as loaner cars are very, very popular. So if you're tired of the unreliable repair shops, come on over to Reliable, and that'll be Eurofix, family owned for 24 years. And all you have to do is just give them a call at 844-EUROFIX. That's right, 844-EUROFIX, or you can just visit them online at myEurofix.com. That's myEurofix.com. Always tell them Blaze.
We get up early to work hard. We're American made and Tennessee strong. We've been selling Ford trucks for over 40 years. We're Two Rivers Ford. Ford Truck Central.
Blaine and Zach on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. And we're joined by Ben McKee of 247 Sports, covers the Tennessee Volunteers for them. And Ben, I'm going to start off the top. In your mind, how did the Georgia-Bama game maybe shift your perspective about Tennessee's chances with either team?
Well, I think I feel better about Tennessee's chances of going to Athens and winning that game. Not that it swung the pendulum dramatically, because that's still going to be really tough for Tennessee to go into Athens and beat that football team. But I don't know that this is the Georgia defense that we're accustomed to seeing. I still think it's a good defense, but their standard has just been ridiculous the last couple of years, and it doesn't seem to meet that standard right now. But that game is played in a month and a half, so who knows what they look like in November. With Alabama, I think Tennessee's going to have to figure out how to defend the quarterback run, as my 2-year-old chimes in. Jalen Milroe's speed on the perimeter is quite the issue. You saw that with Georgia's defense. Georgia's defense was struggling to defend Jalen Milroe's leg on the perimeter. Then I imagine most teams are going to have trouble defending it as well. So I guess I would say that I feel a little bit better about Tennessee's chances of beating Georgia, and a little worse about Tennessee's chances of beating Alabama, because I think Alabama is even exceeding my expectations so far under Kalen DeBoer.
Well, Big Ben, man, thanks for coming on. I have to add on to that. Where would you rank that game amongst, let's say, over the last 10 years, SEC games? Because that was an exciting game, man.
Yeah, it really was. And see, I would tinker the verbiage and say that it was an exciting finish, because I don't know about y'all, but I was asleep during the second quarter and at least half of the third quarter.
What?
Look, I will say I was dealing with a bit of a cold over the weekend, so that contributed. But it wasn't a good game early on because of what the score was.
Well, as an Alabama fan, it was a fantastic game early on.
Yes, if you're an Alabama fan, yeah. So I think the finish was great. Yeah, the comeback, absolutely. But like, I guess I'm more speaking to what Paul Feinbaum said as well when he said it was like the greatest SEC football game of all time, or
I ain't go that far.
Where did he? Yeah, like it wasn't that. Like it was an awesome finish. It was an awesome game, but greatest of all time. Like, are we forgetting about the kick six and some of the other historic games that we've seen? So it was phenomenal. It was certainly one of the best within the last 10 years, but let's not call it the best is my point that I guess I'm getting at.
Gotcha.
Well, shifting to the game this week, is University of Tennessee's main focus making Arkansas one-dimensional by taking away the run game on the Arkansas's offense? Because Taylon Green has not been a prolific passer by any stretch of the means, even with Bobby Petrino as the offensive coordinator, and he had the same issues as a redshirt sophomore with Boise State last year.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely the game plan, because the strength of that offense is to run the football. And speaking of Bobby Petrino, I kind of love the way that he's using Taylon Green in the fashion that Lamar Jackson was being used at Louisville. I think that, at least in terms of running around and the ability to make plays with the legs, there's a similarity there. And that, to me, is certainly objective number one. And maybe not literally the only objective, but if you can slow down Taylon Green and his legs, I think if you're Tennessee, you feel really, really good about your chances of winning. Something would have to go extremely wrong elsewhere if you were to lose this game while limiting his legs. So I think if you do that, you've set yourself up in great position to win that football game. They just haven't. They're not a prolific passing attack. I don't think that they're bad or anything, but they don't scare me, is what I'm getting at. Their tight end position is a bit banged up right now. They have 3 tight ends listed on the availability report, and all of them were questionable. So they don't scare you in that facet. There's no receivers that scare you. Taylon Green is a sporadic with the football, and that's where I think if you can make them one-dimensional by slowing down the run and stopping the run, and you force him to have to make plays with his arm, then he is going to make a bad decision, if not multiple bad decisions, because he tries to throw it when he shouldn't throw it, whether that be throwing in to double covers, triple covers, back over the middle of the field, which is the cardinal sin if you're a quarterback that don't do. And he's done that a couple times this year. So I think Tennessee probably wins big in this football game if they can make Arkansas one-dimensional by slowing down the run, because Taylor Green has had a propensity to turn the football over when he's had to rely on his arm.
What can UT do to neutralize defensive end Landon Jackson, who had 2 sacks and 3 tackles for loss last week versus Texas A&M?
Pray. No, I'm kidding. He's not Reggie White out there. He is very good, and that is going to be a top of the scouting report, much like Taylor Green's legs are offensively. Is top of the scouting report for Tennessee's offense to protect him. And the good news is that you're going to have Lance Hurd back. It appears he was not on the availability report that came out Wednesday evening after missing the Oklahoma game due to an ankle injury. And then you have John Campbell Jr. back as well. Now, I shouldn't say back, because he was playing in that Oklahoma game, but he has had to come out because he's got a chronic injury with his knee that he is having to manage back from when he was at Miami and had an ACL injury, and there's just been some other injuries to follow as a result of that. And he's been in and out of the lineup as a result. I'm curious to see where Arkansas lines him up at, Landon Jackson, that is. I would think that they would try to line him up over John Campbell Jr., just with the inconsistencies there that he's had to play through. But having Lance Hurd back is going to be critical for Tennessee, and that's going to determine the offensive success. We saw that against Oklahoma. The tackle play was inconsistent, and the offensive production in terms of points on the board was inconsistent as a result, and Josh Heupel had to take his foot off the gas as a result. So Tennessee desperately needs those tackles to play well in this game in order for the offense to produce. I don't know that it's a must that they play well to win, because they didn't play all that well against Oklahoma, and they still won because of how good Tennessee's defense is. But if this team wants to take the next step and the offense wants to take the next step, it needs more consistency out of that tackle position, and they'll certainly be tested this weekend by Landon Jackson.
We're on with Ben McKee of 247 Sports, who covers Tennessee Volunteers.
Well, Big Ben, I want you to take off the orange-colored glasses. Landon Jackson or Pierce? Who you picking with? Who's playing the best right now?
Who's playing the best right now? Well, you have to say Landon
You got to look at the
Jackson,
numbers, but who's playing the best?
Yeah, the numbers would suggest Landon Jackson. Now, and I think it would be fair to say Landon Jackson here to start the season. But that doesn't mean that James Pierce Jr. is not playing well. And I like that you bring up the stat sheet, because a lot of fans are wanting and have been looking at the stat sheet, and they see that Pierce has not had the sacks and the TFLs that everybody expected him to have. And, he's not playing well. And that's not the case. He's still getting pressure on the quarterback. He is still disrupting opposing offenses. He's still playing well. He's just not meeting the absurd expectation that everybody placed on him over the offseason. So, and I think the other thing to take into consideration is that he's played a limited amount of snaps as well. Not as much in the Oklahoma game and NC State game, but he had 2 games against Kent State and against Chattanooga to where he was playing 10 and 15 snaps.
All righty. Oh, we still got you? Big Ben.
Well, I think we lost. Yeah, we lost Big Ben for a second, so we're gonna have Reed try to pick him back up, and then you can go to your next conversation. Well, let's hope not.
Somebody sniped him, and he said Jackson's playing better than Pierce right now.
Yeah, maybe his kid pulled on the phone cord or something. His 2-year-old. But we'll get him back on the line, and we'll continue the discussion, with him. But I thought it was interesting that he did say that Landon Jackson is playing better right now. And I think we both have been pretty level-headed about James Pierce has not lived up to the hype. Does not mean that his season can't turn around at any point and pick up where it left off of last year, because that's what he's trying to chase, I guess, the dragon and match what he did at the end of last year to garner all the hype that he got, and he just hasn't been there yet. He's been effective to a certain degree, but not effective to the degree of being a high draft pick, I would say.
Yeah, well, not especially Heisman. I mean, that's what I was looking for, and I don't even know right now, not just statistically, but is he the best defensive end on the team right now?
Yeah. Well, we got Ben McKee's back with us, so Blaine, you go up.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, through 4 games, what is your assessment of Nico's play?
I think he's been really good. I think he's been really efficient, especially for a young quarterback that is making, I guess, now he'll be going into his 6th career start this weekend. I think he's been really good. And the thing I've been most impressed with, aside from the arm talent, because he's made some ridiculous throws that just wow you with the ball placement, with the anticipation, layering the football against different levels of the defense. But just taking what the defense has given him has been, I mean, I didn't expect him not to, but you don't necessarily see that with young quarterbacks. Young quarterbacks want to force the issue and go for the big play. You kind of see that with Jackson Arnold, and look where that got Jackson Arnold, on the bench. And for the most part, Nico has taken what the defense has given him. He did get a little greedy against NC State on that first interception and try to force something. But outside of that, he's been really efficient and has taken great care of the football. So he's getting better each week, and there's certainly a next step that he can take. But I also don't feel like defenses have really allowed him to unleash his arm, so to speak, because they've been dropping a lot. At least NC State did. And then he didn't play the entire games against Kent State and Chattanooga after putting up some nice numbers. And then Oklahoma, Heupel takes his foot off the gas because of what was going on with the tackles there in the second half. So I don't know that he's been fully unleashed yet to show off the arm, because he hasn't had to. But when he's had to make decisions and when he's had to make throws and make plays with his legs, he's done so. So I think he's in a really good spot, and you have to be excited if you're a Tennessee fan to see what the next step is for him, because he's playing really good football right now while being inexperienced, and that has to excite you as a Tennessee fan to think of where he could go from here.
Yeah, what are the odds on that running back Dylan Sampson? I guess they're saying he's on pace to break some Tennessee scoring records. Who holds that scoring record? And do you think that's possible? You think he's going to get that done?
Yeah, 18's the record, and he's at 10 right now. So I think the odds are pretty much in his favor to get it done.
Only 18.
I'd be surprised if he doesn't at this point, quite frankly. I mean, you'd like to think that there's 8 more regular season games, and he's 8 away, and they're going to play a ninth game in the bowl. Now, if it's not a college football playoff game, I don't know if Dylan Sampson's going to be playing in the bowl game, but right now it looks like Tennessee will be in the playoffs. So even more than 8 games he'll be able to play in, and I think that number is easily obtainable for him, especially with how often he scores 4 touchdowns in a game. Already done it once this season, did it once last season. So he's a weapon, and I talked about it going into the season, how I thought he was the most underrated running back in the SEC. He was not on any of the preseason All-SEC teams, and there's not 6 or 7 running backs better than Dylan Sampson, and he's shown that so far. And I think he's not only shown that he was underrated coming into the year, but I think he's shown that he's the best back in the SEC right now. The production would certainly point to that, and I think he's in the midst of a breakout year that's going to propel him to the next level, much like it did Jalen Wright last year. He's a huge weapon for this team, and you ask about Nico, and the fans are asking about, okay, when's Nico going to have the big passing game against the big opponent, and this and that. And I like Tennessee's receivers. I love Nico. I think they're in a great spot. But the strength of this offense is running the football with Dylan Sampson, and I think you're going to see Tennessee continue to lean on Dylan Sampson. And as a result, I think the statistics are going to play out in his favor, especially with those records that he's approaching.
One more for you, Big Ben. Ben McKee with GoVols247. We were just talking about Heather Dinich said that Tennessee wouldn't make the playoffs if they lost to Georgia and Bama. And I was trying to figure out what she was thinking when she said that. Is there a possibility that, I guess, maybe with some other teams losing or winning and Tennessee just kind of losing out because of that? How is that possible?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a little confused as well. I mean, I guess if you get blown out by Alabama and Georgia, then that could be an issue.
Oh.
Because and you kind of look at it. I mean, Oklahoma, not the team that you thought they were maybe going to be this season. NC State, not the team that you thought they were going to be this season. Arkansas, what are they going to be if that is a win for you? Florida's not very good. Mississippi State's not very good. Vanderbilt. I mean, there's not, outside of Alabama and Georgia. Now Kentucky looks a little bit better in terms of leaning in Tennessee's favor. That might end up being a better win than we anticipated. So I guess maybe the thinking there is, outside of Georgia and Alabama, there's not a lot of opportunity for Tennessee to pick up a signature win that would help them get into the playoffs. And then if there's really nowhere for signature wins, and then you turn around and also are the games against Alabama and Georgia, those losses are not competitive, then I guess I could see a 10-2 team with 2 ugly losses not getting in. That makes sense. But I just don't see that playing out for this team regardless. Even if that scenario makes sense, I don't see that scenario playing out. I do think Tennessee goes 10-2 at minimum at this point, but I'd be stunned, quite frankly, if this Tennessee team got blown out by Alabama and Georgia. I'm not convinced they'll win those games, but I'd be, just the way the defense is playing and they're running the football, I'd be surprised if they got blown out. And you have Alabama coming to your house. I mean, that would be a major surprise. So I guess maybe that's her thinking there.
Okay, gotcha.
Ben, Arkansas likes to drag their opponents into the mud and fight it out on the ground. They averaged 34 and a half time of possession, easy for me to say, against ranked and SEC opponents. However, as they proved versus Oklahoma, Tennessee could play that style and win. You know, how much of a surprise is that for you, and how dangerous is it that Heupel has found a new way to win that doesn't require just throwing the ball all over the yard?
Yeah, it's a huge advantage for Tennessee, and that's been one of the talking points for not only myself but a lot of people who cover Tennessee this first month, is just their ability to win in multiple ways. I mean, that's why they're so dangerous, and I think that's why so many people, other than Heather Dinich, are so high on Tennessee. Is because of the different ways in which they can win. They can play NC State, and NC State drop 8 in coverage all night long, and they can run the football right down their throat and win 51-10 or whatever the score ended up being. And then they can go to Oklahoma, and you have a couple of explosive plays early on. You jump out to a lead. You're already without your starting left tackle. Then your starting right tackle has to leave the game, and John Campbell Jr., because of the chronic injuries that he's dealing with. And because you have backup tackles in, you don't want – the only way Oklahoma was going to win that game is if they produce a turnover and then score off of that turnover. And so you take the air out of the football and you manage the game a little bit more than you typically would, and you lean on your defense, which is something that we have not seen Heupel be able to do during his tenure at Tennessee. And now he's able to do that because they're 4 years removed from the Jeremy Pruitt saga. They've been able to build up the roster. They've been able to accumulate talent, depth, speed, athleticism on that side of the football. And as a result, Tim Banks, who is a really good defensive coordinator, he's debunking the theory that you can't play great defense with a Josh Heupel type of up-tempo offense. So I think that's exactly what makes Tennessee so dangerous, is that they can win in multiple ways. Whatever Arkansas throws at them this weekend, and I think they're going to try and do something very similar to what Oklahoma did. And Sam Pittman, unless he was just lying to the media, already kind of showed his hands when he met with the media on Monday. He talked about how they saw some things that Oklahoma was able to do and have a little bit of success with, and how they're already practicing on that. And I think they're going to try and bluff loading the box and then maybe having some guys drop into coverage and try and trick Nico into some different things because it's all a numbers game for Tennessee's offense. But whatever Arkansas tries to do this weekend, whether they want to load the box, then they're going to trust their receivers down the field to make plays and trust Nico's arm and decision making. If Arkansas elects not to load the box, then they're just going to hand it off to Dylan Sampson like we talked about. So that is absolutely what makes Tennessee dangerous this year, on top of having one of the best defenses in college football.
For sure, for sure. What is your final prediction for the game this Saturday?
Ooh, I haven't written out my formal prediction in terms of score. I certainly think Tennessee wins. I think Tennessee's a pretty significantly better team than Arkansas. I think there's a decent gap between the two. It's a good thing for Arkansas it's not played in Neyland, because I think it could really be a blowout if it wasn't at their place in prime time under the lights. But I'm thinking somewhere in the 34-17, 34-20, somewhere in that range.
Bet that under. That's all I'm hearing. It's getting close to betting that under. But we appreciate it, Ben. Ben McKee, GoVols247.com, 247 Sports, Tennessee football. Thanks, Ben, for coming on. When we come back, we'll talk more about what he said, and we'll talk about the Tennessee's run game going up against this Arkansas run defense. I'm Zach. He's Blaine. It's Blaine and Zach on 104.5 The Zone.
Hey, Tennessee, fall is here. It is in full swing, and Kool-Aid's here to make sure your home is ready for all the fun and the fall. We've got some sizzling deals that will keep you comfortable and worry-free all season long. So ensure your family stays hydrated and healthy with free water quality testing, because nothing beats a refreshing drink of pure water on a nice fall day. And Kool-Aid also offers a $149 main sewer line camera inspection. Right now, they also offer 15% off whole home dehumidifiers, as well as $500 off whole home generators. So let Kool-Aid take care of your home so you can focus on making memories. So call us today at 615-709-8699. That's 709-8699, and take advantage of these scorching hot deals. Kool-Aid, your trusted partner for a cool and comfortable Tennessee fall. So visit Kool-Aid.com. Kool-Aid, keeping Tennessee cool, plumbing right, and lights bright.
Blaine and Zach here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by all Four Seasons garage doors. I got a different mic. I'm supposed to press different buttons. I'm not really ready.
Better you than me, man.
615-737-1045. You want to talk about Tennessee Volunteers. And we're also going to be talking about Will Levis and the latest on his injury, according to PK.
What's that?
Grade 2 AC joint.
Oh.
So we'll talk more about that in the next segment. But we wanted to read the quote from Heather Dinich, who wrote about projecting the college football top 10, why each team could be here, why they could be lower, and something you need to know. And this says Tennessee, what you were alluding to, Tennessee still has to play Alabama and Georgia, and we saw how that just unfolded in Tuscaloosa. The Vols need to go 2-0 against those teams to avoid a true debate in the committee meeting room. Without those wins, Tennessee will be counting on wins against NC State and Oklahoma to impress the committee enough for an at-large bid. So what she's basically saying is that it's still a debate on if they get in, if they drop those games. Now, if they drop those games in embarrassing fashion, then it's probably not going to be a debate. But if they play close, it's a debate. So what she was doing is why they could be in the top 10, why they could be lower, and what you need to know. And that's what she's saying. What you need to know is that if they go 0-2 against Georgia and Alabama, it opens them up to a debate in the committee room. Not that they can't make it. It's just that it's a debate. It wasn't a definitive statement.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, yeah, that's why I was confused because I was hearing someone else say. I think if they're 1-1, because I was thinking that she was saying they're 2-0, but if they're 1-1, is that a debate?
I wouldn't think it would be.
Okay.
I wouldn't think 1-1 is a debate whatsoever. I mean, because you already got Ole Miss, right? So why would it be debate?
So do you agree with her premise that if they are...
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have a debate.
2-0.
We would be debating whether they should make it or not, probably. I think pretty much any radio show is going to be saying, okay, 11th and 12th, Tennessee's got 2 losses, but it's against Alabama and Georgia, and they were close losses. There's going to be a debate about it. It's not going to be just you automatically getting in.
Okay, what about if it's against Notre Dame, who runs the table from here on out, but lost to Northern Illinois? Which is a possibility, by the way.
Yeah, and Northern Illinois was ranked for a little bit.
Yep.
I would think that Notre Dame probably gets the end. That committee loves Notre Dame. Even though they may not be good as Tennessee,
and
but
Tennessee
they love them.
2 close ones to Georgia and Alabama.
I think that's how they view Notre Dame. That's a Notre Dame thing, not a Tennessee thing, by the way. That's a Notre Dame thing. Because I do not like Notre Dame. I always think they're highly overrated, and they always prove to be overrated. And I think Tennessee's the better team, but I do not think the committee would view it that way.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I grew up a Notre Dame fan, and there
will be a debate about it, though.
Always overrated just because they're Notre Dame.
Yep. That's the name recognition and history of Notre Dame, even though they're a terrible football program, in my opinion, right now.
A program?
Well, ever since they've started getting into the playoffs and losing these games and everything, they just are not. They never lived up to that. I don't mean historically or anything. I just mean in this millennia.
You said it loosely there, right?
Yeah.
Horrible program.
They are. I just don't like
Ball
Notre Dame.
State? I mean, what do you mean?
I have never enjoyed a beatdown more than watching Alabama. I was at the Buffalo Wild Wings in Spring Hill. I can remember exactly where I was at, and it was beautiful to see Manny Te'o just get manhandled by Derrick Henry and all of them. It was a beautiful, beautiful sight. It's one of my favorite games of all time because I have so many Notre Dame fans that I know in Memphis, and it was just so fun to talk so much crap to them over that beatdown. And then the whole Manny Te'o, fake girlfriend thing was circling around there as well.
I saw him on ESPN or Good Morning Football or something. He was doing pretty good.
Reed, I want to ask you a question. Because we were talking about Nico and all this kind of stuff, Heisman hopes, all this thing. And I had a question for you. As a fan, if Nico doesn't have a big 300-yard, 4-touchdown performance against SEC opponents this year, but he plays fine and they win, you're not disappointed in the Nico freshman year, right?
Absolutely. Winning is the only thing that matters.
Okay.
It doesn't matter how it happens. Nico could have 4 picks and throw 100 yards as long as you win the game. And
That's all that
as long
matters
as they
to you.
keep winning, and he doesn't ruin the game like we're seeing with Will Levis. If he goes out and loses 2 of those games, like throws a pick 6 or fumbles to lose the game, then you get a little bit upset. But if they keep winning, there's nothing Nico can do that would bring that down.
Gotcha. I just, a little conversation to think about, for a Tennessee Titans fan. I just wonder how many fans actually agree with that, or how many fans like, well, you're going to win if he throws for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, but you want to see, like, I wonder how many people want to see that over maybe a 1 touchdown, 4 interception performance, but still win. You get what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
What I'm throwing out there. When we come back, we're going to talk about Will Levis, what Steve Smith had to say about Will Levis, and what is going on with his shoulder. The latest news on that. I'm Zach. He's Blaine. Is Blaine and Zach on 104.5 The Zone.
Hey guys, this is Blaine for Edge Peptide Therapy. And listen, I've been hearing about peptides and peptide therapy now for a few months and was curious. So I finally went to Edge Peptide Therapy to find out more. And they did a full blood panel that showed where my body had some small deficiencies. And then they came up with a tailor-made plan to address those areas with peptides. And since I started my peptide therapy, I've noticed all the energy level in my body, my focus, as well as a lot of these old injuries, arthritis, back pain, joint pain, and over inflammation from old and new sports injuries. And recovery peptides help with all of this. So if you're looking for an alternative to surgery, consider talking to Edge first. And this month, Edge is offering $150 off your first peptide package for new clients. So why not get started now? So go to edgepeptide.com. Yes, that's edgepeptide.com. Or you can just give them a call at 615-724-1878. That's 724-1878.
Smashville, the Nashville Predators 2024-2025 season is almost here, and 104.5 The Zone has your chance to win tickets to see your Preds in action this weekend. Be caller number 5 now to win 2 tickets to see the Preds host Carolina for their next preseason game of the season this Saturday at Bridgestone Arena. 615-737-1045. Exciting offseason with major new player signings like Steve Stamkos and Brady Shea. You can also catch all the players on the Preds Fest on Sunday, October 6th in Walk of Fame Park. Don't miss out on this exciting season in Smashville. Grab tickets at NashvillePredators.com. Caller number 5, 2 tickets for Saturday's Preds game, 615-737-1045. Blaine, so let's start off here first. It's been reported now by PK that it is a grade 2 AC joint sprain for Will Levis that he would have likely have missed this weekend if they were playing, but they're on bye. So he should be fine to play against Indy, but he's going to be dealing with pain throughout the process. How have you ever had an AC joint sprain?
Yes, I have.
So what's that like playing with in football where you're going to get hit, or you're, in your case, you were doing the hitting, but like what's that?
Some would say that.
So what's that like for a player, especially for Will Levis, who's already kind of nervous about getting hit in the pocket and sacks and pressure, and what's that going to be like for him, especially because it's his throwing shoulder?
Yeah, I don't know about him getting hit. It's
Gotcha.
probably more so the issue. Maybe it's more his throwing motion, and then when he does get hit, him falling on that shoulder again. So I think those are the 2 things you're probably considering. I played with it with one of those things on your arm, and eventually I had to have surgery after the season playing with it like that. But I was hitting, a lot more than probably, him. But throwing motion, it'll be interesting how much it affects his accuracy. Really, this is a tough one here because I don't know how long it takes for it to actually heal. It probably take 6 weeks, maybe. I don't know, 4 to 6 weeks. I'm not a doctor, but
if you're falling on it, probably delays that a little bit.
Absolutely, yeah.
So
I'm more
hopefully,
concerned that he can be accurate with the ball.
Yeah.
And sometimes that doesn't affect anything at all in your throwing motion. Here's what an AC joint is when your shoulder joint just gets displaced up and sits up here. And some guys have no issue with and play like that their entire careers, and it never bothers them.
Yeah.
So,
we just don't know, I guess, right now.
You don't know until you actually start seeing him throw and then him take a hit, and you won't know that till the actual game. So, so it'll be interesting to see. If he's not, that gives him another reason to give him a quick trigger to pull him out is what I'm getting at. If he does start in 2 weeks or against the Colts.
We do have a winner, though, for the Preds tickets, so I just want to let people know the tickets have been taken. Who won, Reed, if you don't mind me asking?
Jeff Bottoms.
There you go. Jeff Bottoms. Is that a real name? Jeff Bottoms?
It was to me. He was in our system, so we had him.
All right. Jeff Bottoms. Okay, so.
Have you had an AC joint?
No. I have shattered my pinky, busted open my head, and had a broken nose. That's about all I've had. I've separated a growth plate as well, plate in my ankle. So I've been relatively okay injury-wise. So
because those are easy to have. That's why I asked you. You can easily fall. I just saw one of the guys that worked for whether ESPN or TNT or something. I saw him had on it. He did the same thing. He fell out there playing on the beach and had an AC joint displacement. See, so it can happen. They can catch you at the right time.
I may have had it before. I mean,
and
I've had
people
I just don't know.
Keep on going. I mean, especially if you're not, getting hit on a regular basis, you can kind of survive without getting it fixed.
Yeah.
It just be interesting to see if he can play, and then there's no issue ever with him throwing. So,
well, let me ask you this, because yesterday we kind of talked about being conflicted, coming out of the bye, starting Will Levis. Now that you know this and this injury, is this going to be one of those things where first off, if they sign a practice squad quarterback, then they're probably a little concerned. Maybe not, benching concerned, but they're at least a little concerned, and they want to have some insurance. Is this going to be a thing where he shows up at practice coming off the bye, first practice of the bye week, and you just test it out, see how it looks, and maybe he's relegated to back up with an emergency quarterback, and maybe they do start Mason Rudolph? Does this?
I
guess it just leave a door open.
Oh, absolutely it does.
Yeah,
it does, because that's why you get an insurance policy, and the term you used was benching, and I would preference it as, well, he's not healthy yet, so we got to go with the other option. And so you can clarify that is he got benched, but was it benching for his play?
Guess you
or
would
was
say
it benching because he was injured?
I guess you'd say you relegate him to second string temporarily
until he gets fully healthy. Right.
But you'd probably still let him go into the game over a practice squad quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
If Mason Rudolph were,
unless somebody he brings in that he feels like knows their
really
system
good.
already.
Yeah.
And feels really comfortable with them. And I don't, know quarterbacks like that,
I just wonder how much of does that kind of open up like a little, it provides a little bit of an excuse a little bit?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I said it gives you, that
flexibility.
The flexibility.
In quotation marks, flexibility.
Flexibility to let him continue to heal. And by the way, get to stand on the sideline and watch.
Right.
And I'm going to tell you this, as a player, and I'm sure it's even more so at quarterback, I learned a lot standing on the sidelines after playing and then standing there watching as a veteran, watching people playing in my spot and getting a better feel for the whole entire defense and scheme and how it's supposed to work.
Yeah.
And that's
happened. Why I asked Coach Mack that on Tuesday was like, can he learn something from being on the sidelines?
Absolutely. Yeah. And it could be huge growth when I say that.
Yeah. But you got to be open to it, right?
Like, no, you just got to pay attention. If you are engaged because you believe you're going to go back out there, you're going to be engaged. So it's not about, if you're open to it. I would assume a young quarterback is open to listening and watching and paying attention because he thinks he's getting in the game anyway.
I just wondered, because we'll get to this clip from Steve Smith here in just a second, but he talks about, he saw Levis kind of getting antsy on the sidelines, wanting to go in and all that. Like, how much can you pay attention if you're thinking about, man, I hope I get to go in? I'm just wondering from that regard.
Well, see, I take what he said differently than you. When he say antsy, I thought he meant he started. It's almost like you're taking one of those energy drinks, and you start saying, "Oh, I drank too much, and I was getting all touchy-feely on my body." It was almost like he was scratching himself, like, "Oh my God!" So that's kind of how I took it. Not antsy to go in the game. Antsy to go in the game is he had his helmet buckled.
Yeah,
and hey man, I'm ready.
Gotcha.
That's the antsy I'm looking at, not necessarily him doing the itching and scratch. That's something internal.
Yeah, he said he was the way that he took the way that Steve Smith interpreted
based off when he showed
what
him,
he interpreted it was that this guy is afraid he's losing his job. Yeah, that's how Steve Smith interpreted it. But that's an interpretation from 300 miles away. You get what I'm saying? So
no, I agree with some parts of his premise. I thought when he was saying he was itchy and antsy, that's the part where I'm saying itchy. Any player that is not going back out there and you tell the coach that you're good to go, you always are worried about losing your job. That is every single player. Here's why. You can lose your job in a drop of a hat when someone gets opportunity and they can save money, or they know they're going to get conservative play and you are being an issue, and then you lose just out of spite, even though the guy isn't better than you. So that's what keeps players playing injured, because I know how I got my job. The guy got injured.
That's why they make those Toradol shots, right?
Right, yeah. And then that's what happens. And then you play through it, and then you just find a way to play. And it's not like college where, college, I never got hurt. I mean, never. I never got hurt. I get in the pros, I'm 10 surgeries later. Because you played during the season where as a normal person, you should have got a scope on your knee. You should have got a scope on your ankle. But you waited and played it all out because if you gave that guy this the backup, because I know how I got mine, I waited my shot and my chance to get on the field, you're giving somebody else that same shot.
Yeah.
So that's why I think, and as a competitor, as a whole nother angle here, as a competitor, you never don't want to be out there once you've had a taste of being out there.
Can you hide it? I mean, can Will Levis go out there, throw the ball, and not wince in pain?
Hide
that pain.
Oh, I think he's a tough guy.
Yeah.
So I
he
think
could probably just tolerate it.
Right.
and-
That's why I said it's about now accuracy.
Yeah.
I think he can fight through a lot of things. Most players can.
You can fight through the pain, but that pain may still affect your throwing, is what
Yep.
you're saying.
Yeah.
It's interesting. We're going to talk a lot more about Will Levis, but we're also going to talk about the defense because we're going to talk about it yesterday. We never really got to talk about it. We got guys like Tavondre Sweat, Jarvis Brownlee Jr., the linebackers, L'Jarius Sneed, Quandre Diggs, and Amani Hooker all playing exceptional football. But we're going to really hammer home some L'Jarius Sneed stuff that I've seen on the Titans Twitter streets that are maybe it's a little bit of a Lions Den segment when we get to this L'Jarius Sneed talk. Because I'm going to put the fans and the local media analysts that are saying some stuff maybe in the Lions Den. But we'll do all that coming up, and that's how we'll wrap up the show. We'll also get to your phone, 615-737-1045. I'm Zach. He's Blaine. This is Blaine and Zach on 1045 The Zone.
Hey, folks, you know I've been talking about Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance for years because they are the leading experts in sports medicine and performance and the team physician for NFL, college, high school athletics all across Tennessee. And TOA provides sports medicine coverage to more high school and college sports teams than any orthopedic group in the state of Tennessee. And they have 29 locations throughout the state and over 100 physicians throughout the middle and east part of Tennessee to take care of all your musculoskeletal needs. And TOA has 11 urgent care locations with walk-in availability 7 days a week. They offer direct access to sports medicine and performance, physical therapy, and nutrition. Personalized rehabilitation plans to enhance mobility and reduce pain and improve overall physical function for patients recovering from injuries or surgeries. And TOA also offers sports performance training, a specialized program designed to enhance athletic performance and provide tailored training solutions for athletes at every level. So please check out the services of TOA at TOA.com. Yes, that's TOA.com.
Watch out, because we're back. It's Blaine and Zach here on 104.5 The Zone. That was 2 Chainz. Well, Watch Out by 2 Chainz right here on the intro.
Watch out, 2 Chainz. Okay.
We're going to go straight to your phone, 615-737-1045, if you want to talk Tennessee Titans or Tennessee Volunteers. And we're going to go to Laura in Brentwood, who wants to talk about Will Levis. Laura, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Hey, how are y'all?
How you doing, Laura?
Hi, Blaine.
How you doing?
Look, I'm so Titan fan all the way,
Yes.
But look, my sons all play football, not college, not professional. But I hope the coach look back at Will. Seriously, I know he's young and everything, but with his hand on his hip and all that, I was like, I would have jerked my son right off that field. I was like, dude, you ain't doing this, okay? Thank you. I mean, and I don't mean that mean. Seriously, I don't.
Yeah, no.
I know he was frustrated and everything, but we won. And, he should be happy that his teammate helped him win.
Mm-hmm.
Am I wrong on that?
I'll let Blaine answer that one because you're the competitor, Blaine. You're the guy with the professional experience. So thank you, Laura. I mean, what do you think about the demeanor of a teammate? Hands on the hip after a victory. When he's, what do you think about that? Is there anything to that?
I didn't see when does this happen after in the locker room
I didn't notice it either, but by that time I'd turned my back to the TV and started setting up at the studio. So,
well, I mean, naturally, any player that is not in the game and they were in the game and then all of a sudden somewhat quasi thought they could go back in the game. In theory, they didn't. They got benched. He's upset, but at the same time, you got to be happy about the team winning. So I'm not going to sit there like he should be happy as a lark or anything like that. But definitely can't let the body language show that you're disappointed that you weren't out there.
Yeah,
and he's still a young player, so he's got to learn through all that and how you're getting critiqued. Even Coach Callahan and watched all the time. When you're the starting quarterback and you're the head coach, they're going to catch everything that you do. I mean, we even got, I didn't see the guy when he threw the pick. So he probably didn't understand. Like, man, dang, everybody's seeing everything I'm saying. Yeah, they watching you. So I think it's all learning experience. And, when you're a young player in the NFL, man, and you just don't know what you don't know. And hopefully he learns from this and continues to grow regardless if he's out there or not. This is not the end. At the end of the day, he will still get the right how this ends.
Right.
And so whether you're out there now or 10 weeks from now, at some point you're going to get an opportunity.
We're going to go to Mayor Ron, who we haven't heard from in a couple of days. He wants to talk about Nico and Levis. Mayor Ron, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Ooh.
What up?
What's
up? Going on?
Hey, man, I love the talk. There was so much fun talk just a little bit ago about Tennessee football and who can run the table and who has the toughest schedule type of thing in the SEC. I have a lot broke down on that, but what I wanted to talk to y'all about is I love that he talked about Nico in 6 games, how he's progressing, and the excitement of what the future holds, the college talk, the Heisman talk. And the what will Nico be in 3 years?
Oh,
wow. Look at this. Guess who we're not talking about that? Levis. Nobody is saying, hey, Levis, man, I can't wait in 3 years when he's good, when we open the new stadium, man, I can't wait. He's going to be good in 3 years. Why is college compared right now to pro as we're on a developmental team? Like, we got to get 3 years under our belt of experience before we're any good. But that's not fair to professional players who are playing at a high level right now, like our defense. They're playing at a high level right now, and they could play even higher level. I mean, you got Andre the Giant Sweat in the middle, and he can put his elbow on little man Simmons and call him a little man because he's a monster, and he's showing that in the middle. It's amazing what he's doing. Is he a rookie? Or is he a young player? How old is he? We have to look at a lot of these things and compare them, I think. But I love Mason Rudolph's play. I love his calmness and what he did and how the players played for him because their assignments were easier because he made them easier by his calmness and presence on the field. What you got?
Yeah. I think he's talking about the offensive line when he says that. And that's about, him getting rid of the ball in a timely fashion. I would love to see him against a more competent opponent. I tell you that. I know a win's a win in the National Football League, no doubt. I'm not taking anything away from that. But this was kind of a conservative approach, and you could still get the win. And I get why the coach did that. So now I want to see what it's like from beginning to end. And by the way, you mentioned this off air, him getting to be the leader of the clubhouse as starting quarterback in practice all week.
Yeah.
Just think about that.
Yeah, if Will Levis can't go, for sure, I mean, you're going to see a totally different game plan, totally different plays, and a different Mason Rudolph. Because I know everybody's like, well, how can you get excited about 9 completions and all this stuff? And I'm with you. I mean, Mason Rudolph didn't do anything that really gave you – that didn't really make you jump out of your seat and go, wow-wee. But he did show you the discrepancies between what a veteran can do and what Will Levis can currently do. And that's something that Steve Smith talked about on his podcast on the Underdog Fantasy Network on the 89 show. Here's Steve Smith talking about Will Levis and Mason Rudolph.
Watching Will Levis, you can see him seeing it, but he doesn't believe what he sees. You notice when Mason Rudolph went out and started throwing some passes, Will Levis had the itch. He started getting real antsy. He had that internal conversation. Am I about to lose my job? Because he's doing exactly what I was hoping to do. You could just see the offense clicking. Mason Rudolph is not Joe Montana. However, his ability and his vision to see things more clear than Will Levis makes it an interesting dynamic. It's not about who's the better quarterback, but can you efficiently stand in the pocket, get hit in the ribs, and still be comfortable delivering the football?
A lot of interesting stuff there, and a lot of stuff that we've kind of talked about here, but I think he put it into words that I think are easy to understand.
No doubt.
And I think he did a great job describing it, even though that he said antsy, and then they used bees in the graphic, and bee sounds.
I had me die laughing.
I guess ants don't make enough noise to put that in there, but it was very interesting because that, again, Mason Rudolph didn't do anything exciting. He just did what basically Steve Smith said. He was efficient. And efficiency isn't always exciting, but efficiency would win you games. And Will Levis was inefficient in 2 games where it cost you. And that does not mean, again, so let me just reiterate. The Miami Dolphins were without a few starters. Jalen Phillips left the game. And then Tennessee Titans jumped ahead because of field goals, not because of touchdowns. And what the defense was able to do helped the offense be able to just go ultra conservative. And that helps. You're not going to be able to do that with every week. And so you're going to see, let's say, hypothetically, that Mason Rudolph starts against the Indianapolis Colts because Will Levis can't go because of his injury. It's just he's not throwing an accurate ball because of the injury. Some would say that he hasn't thrown an accurate ball with fully healthy. I thought he's been pretty accurate, but some people
he's been the most accurate he's ever been in his career.
Some people have said that in the chat, but just wanted to throw that out there. But Mason Rudolph, the Mason Rudolph you got on Monday Night Football is not necessarily the Mason Rudolph you're going to get against the Colts. You'll get the efficiency, you'll get the quick reads and the command of the offense, but he'll probably be asked to throw more against the Colts.
Yeah, and that would be
that's what we all want to see. I don't know if we want to see. I think we'd all rather see Will Levis, go out there and win a game and progress. But if you're given a choice between seeing bad Will Levis and average Mason Rudolph, I think most fans would take average Mason Rudolph at this point.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting because you just never know what will actually happen in the game. And we may be sitting here saying, man, Mason Rudolph stunk it up. I don't think that's the case, but it probably will be the case. You know what I'd love to do? I'm going to go watch film of Mason Rudolph's rookie year and see what he looked like then, or as his second year, and how much he grew from first to second year. Because you said something that was interesting, and I don't know if it'll happen or not. You said that they will change their game plan with Mason Rudolph. I don't know if they really will.
No, what I mean is, like, I don't think that they are going to run the ball 50 times a game or 40 times a game.
That was just a game.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
and
okay.
it will be a different. It will be the offense that you see Will Levis trying to run. It's just that Mason Rudolph's going to be running it.
Okay.
And I because I think people look at like, well, 9 completions, 12 passes. I mean, that's not exciting. Well, you're going to see more than that if he had a full week's preparation. And he's going to get the start way ahead of time, not in the middle of the game.
Well, I just think it's a better opponent. I mean,
but let me pose this question out there for everybody. You know, everybody's talking about, well, if you cut Will Levis or you give up on Will Levis or you trade him, whatever, then he'll turn into Baker Mayfield or he'll turn into Sam Darnold or he'll be Geno Smith at someone else. Someone else will reap the rewards.
In 5 years?
In 5 years or whatever. Well,
that's what happened to Malik Willis.
Well, let me say, why can't, let's open up the possibility. What if Mason Rudolph is your Sam Darnold? What if he is your Baker Mayfield?
I like it.
Just throwing it out there. Not necessarily I believe it, but I think that should be part of the discussion. Everybody's so worried about Will Levis being that next guy. Why can't Mason Rudolph be that next guy for a team?
Yeah, or the Tannehill or anybody else when we got Tannehill, which nobody
Sometimes when you find the right fit, even after a couple of years like Geno Smith, I mean, we don't know when he actually progressed behind the scenes at his stops at the New York Jets, Giants, and Chargers before he got to Seattle. But, I mean, that's just kind of what happens, right? Like, I mean, he found a good fit in Seattle. He was able to beat out Drew Lock. You know, what if Mason Rudolph is your Sam Darnold? Just throwing it out there. It's a hypothetical. Something to think about. Something we may talk about on another show. We're going to get to your phones, though. Let's go to Trey in Nashville who wants to talk about Will Levis. Trey, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Hey, how y'all doing today, guys?
Doing good. How are you?
Trey.
Good. Hey, I wanted to know, okay, in Coach's presser, he said that if if Will Levis was healthy, he would, be out there,
starting.
Be at the game, playing in the game in 2 weeks. But if it's a shoulder injury, what degree is he going to be able to be effective even to play? Like, it's like, saying if his health is a broad, that's like saying that's just broad, too broad. I know he's trying to keep everything, in-house, but, I would go with Mason. That's what I would do.
Well, Trey, I think that's a distinct possibility. We talked about that if Will Levis comes out of practice or the first game of the bye, after the bye, the first practice, and he's inaccurate, he's clearly in pain, that leaves the door open for you to make a switch that early. And now it's a switch. It's not a benching.
Yeah.
I think maybe that's a better word.
And
it's
I think that's why he kept it broad, because he wanted the window open to say, hey, I can change my mind if I need to, based off how this injury goes.
Yeah. So I think that's a distinct possibility for sure. Nothing's written in stone right now. Marlon in Murfreesboro wants to talk Tennessee Titans. Ooh. Marlon, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
How you doing? How you doing today?
Doing good. How are you?
Hey, my question is, even not just what the Will Levis thing is, but with all the NFL quarterbacks, a lot of these guys that we think that are starters, they don't really have nobody pushing them in the back. So they kind of get relaxed. And like the situation with Levis when he got hurt, and Rudolph came in and he was moving them down the field, then it starts making you think like, you know what, maybe I need to start playing now. But what my question is, though, my next question is, do you think the Titans need to go out and find a quarterback in case the Levis don't come back that have a backup? Because they only have 2 right now, and I don't know why they let Tannehill go with the weapons that they have now. Because Tannehill would be a perfect fit now with the weapons they have now. That's all I'd say.
Well, I'll say this. I'll start off with the Tannehill thing. He's just too expensive. I mean, he's wanting starter money, and he wants to start. He's not wanting to be a backup and sit on the bench or anything. That's why they brought in Mason Rudolph. As far as bringing in a third quarterback, the coach said that if they feel that things are a little iffy health-wise with Will Levis and they need to be cautious, they'll bring in a third quarterback. He'll be on the practice squad, and they'll be elevated as an emergency quarterback, but that is the plan right now, as far as what we were told on Monday by Brian Callahan.
Yeah. We got any options out there that you like on some practice squads?
maybe on some practice squads. I'll go practice squad deep diving overnight, and we'll talk about it tomorrow. Maybe I can give you a list. Maybe I'll find them. Let me tell you something.
I thought you had
it's
a hidden
Ryan
gem there.
Tannehill and a bunch of nobodies in free agency. Unless you're big in a Trevor Siemian reunion or whatever. It's bad on the street. So you'd be definitely looking at some practice squad guys. So we'll definitely. I'll definitely check up on that, though. We're going to go to Ryan in Murfreesboro who wants to talk about Will Levis. Ryan, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Hey, what's up, fellas?
Hey.
So my question is more about the vision of the team, especially with the new stadium that's coming. I think it's in 2027. We've got so many makeshift pieces, older veterans that aren't going to make it to that timeline, and a lot of new players and new acquisitions that we really need to get in place. And I feel like we're in a rush to try and figure out if Will Levis is going to be the guy. When you've got all this time, he's under contract for several years. Why aren't we focusing on just trying to find the right pieces on the offensive line, defensive line, those pieces that are going to be part of our nucleus for the long term, instead of just trying to rush a situation that's just it's almost like we're trying to force a piece of a puzzle that's not meant to fit. Just play the guy that makes the most sense to help your team win, but understand you got a bigger objective, and that objective is in 2027 to put seats in the stands. And I'm just wondering, from your point of view, what do you guys think that the front office is doing to try and make sure they accomplish that goal? And do you really think they think Will Levis is going to be that guy in 2027? I don't think so, but I'd like to hear your thoughts.
Thanks, Bam. Yeah, I mean, you got to find out what Will Levis is this year. That's my big thing. I think that if this hypothetical of Mason Rudolph comes in, he looks good, and they keep prolonging Mason Rudolph, I think that tells you, me personally, I think, in my opinion, I think that tells you what they think about Will Levis.
Yeah, prolonger Will Levis. Yeah. I would agree with that premise. And actually, I think the caller was alluding to, but I just don't think he likes their plan. I think their objective is to develop Will Levis to see if he can be the guy, and that's why they put the certain pieces around him, at least as far as weapons. Can't fix everything in one season. You have to do it through the draft. So they trying to see going into the stadium, about time, if he matured and became the guy, then they go into the stadium, they're going to be a Super Bowl contending team, and that's what they wanted to see. And they can continue to add pieces along the way, whether it was through free agency or the draft. And I thought that was the right approach, at least as far as I was concerned, because you want to see if Levis can be the guy. And if he can't be the guy, then, you got to move on to maybe a veteran stopgap guy, or you go back through the draft again. And, maybe you get a guy in the fourth round. I don't know, a different year, and maybe he becomes the guy. Doesn't have to always be a first-round pick. And by the way, I'd love to know the data on maybe mid-round guys to later-round guys compared to first-round guys on quarterbacks. The odds are that, some of those guys make it just as much as first-round guys, because that's always kind of interesting. Everybody thinks you have to take a quarterback in the first 5-10 picks. I'm like, I don't know if that's the wave now. If we got to see what the trend is happening now, and I think you're alluding to it, a quarterback, here's why all these quarterbacks are getting their second and third go-round, and then all of a sudden are having success. Because they went to bad teams in the beginning, and they weren't ready for that yet.
Yep.
And they needed help along the way. And now all of a sudden you put them on a team now that has weapons, that has, some tackles, some line, a running game. Then all of a sudden now the quarterbacks look different. So they got that much better in 5 years through their experiences they have. So sometimes it takes guys longer than others. So you just never know. But it's starting to be a trend.
It really is. And listen, more quarterbacks, I guess you would say, the amount of quarterbacks drafted in the later rounds is a lot, right? So those numbers are going to always look really low because there's just a lot of guys that just wash out early.
Right.
Man. And at the end of the day, you're drafted in the first round for a reason. But there is your Dak Prescott's, your Russell Wilson's, your
Brock Purdy.
Andy Dalton was a second round pick. Brock Purdy. I mean, there's your exceptions, and there's a lot of exceptions currently playing good football. So it's really, to me, it's about the situation you go into, because some of these quarterbacks, like Dak Prescott went into a good situation in Dallas. They had a fantastic offensive line, and he looked really good. Russell Wilson had a fantastic defense and beast mode back there. So, like, a bunch of these things, it's like, if the team is really good, you can take your shot. And the Tennessee Titans, despite what their record may say, I think they're set up to be a good team for 2 or 3 years, but they got to find the quarterback, and that's the biggest thing that's holding them back. Well, when we come back, we'll actually talk about the team, because we're going to talk about the defense when we come back. I've promised it over and over. We're going to talk a little bit about the defense. I'm Zach, he's Blaine. This is Blaine and Zach on 104.5 The Zone. NFL Week 5 is here, and you can start with a chance for a big win on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. New to FanDuel? You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Build a quick same-game parlay for the Thursday night football game tonight. Buccaneers at Falcons, Baker Mayfield over passing yards, Drake London over receiving yards, and Bijan Robinson anytime touchdown. Just visit FanDuel.com/Zach. That's FanDuel.com/ZACH to make every moment more this season. FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. 21 and over in present Tennessee. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call Tennessee Redline 1-800-889-9789. Final segment here on Blaine and Zach on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Door. And we're putting the Will Levis talk on the back burner. I'm sick of it for now. Let's talk about some defense here, Blaine. And Tavondre Sweat, oh my gosh, what a beast he was. He did a little bit of everything, and I know there will be his detractors are out there saying, well, he doesn't have a sack, and where's his quarterback pressures and all that kind of crap, but look at what he did. I mean, he was a force to be reckoned with, and that was without his running mate, Jeffrey Simmons, next to him. And that's a big deal, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. He put up a performance, and I've been saying all season long that he looks like he's a little bit better right now as far as his play than Big Jeff.
Well, speaking of being on the sideline, right?
I call it as I see it. I ain't even talking on the sideline. I'm talking about before this game.
That's what I'm saying. Like, maybe this was Big Jeff's little wake-up call over there on the sideline a little bit. Maybe he's like, oh, man, I'm getting overshadowed by this young pup. I better get out there.
Where he had some, what was it, Tommy John sprain or something? I don't know. You know, he was wearing an arm brace, so even before that. So he could have been nicked up and maybe couldn't play to the level of eliteness. And just good play. But, you know, nobody cares about that once you're out on that field. Yep. Nobody cares, you know, that you got a broken arm and you out there playing, you playing. So, you know,
Sweat was a beast. I mean, the guy that you know that defense or that offensive line, right?
He had me so jacked up. I went and saw him go run the 40 again at the combine.
Hey,
you should have saw this mammoth of a man running 366 pounds. He ran a 5.27, and I could not believe it.
Yeah.
He was humping. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Good Lord. Man, they don't make people
and it was
like
human
that.
down there, right? Like, see, that's the other thing. So he played, I think, roughly 78% of the snaps, and it was humid
because they lost Coburn, so they didn't have the rotation either.
Right.
So he was getting off blocks and playing down the line 5-10 yards. It was when you turn on the tape. And I told you guys early on, it wasn't never to watch. I used to be like, hey, rewind that. Like, hey, man, what are you watching? Nothing happened. We went over that. No, I said, watch the big men. Watch the guy in the trenches. When you see someone run that fast, that big, it is like amazing to watch. It is incredible. That was the first thing that amazed me when I got to the league. Not everybody, 4.3, 4.2. You've seen guys this fast, okay? But when you see a guy like that, and then all of a sudden, what if this? Watch this. And then you see him hurdle somebody.
Yeah.
Whoo, you be like, what the? Who is this guy?
Right.
Yeah, it is a sight to behold, man.
And that's really two games, I think the Chicago game and this game, outside of preseason, that he popped off the tape.
Yeah, it's...
I haven't been able to say that about his running mate this year.
Yeah, this one...
This is interesting. This is something to monitor going forward, because if you're big into PFF grades, which I do not like PFF grades or anything, I don't put much stock in, but he's like one of the top defensive tackles, even rookies and veterans right now graded out. I mean, he's...
For the whole entire season?
Yeah, so he's doing awesome right now.
I thought it was just that one game, so this is for the whole season?
He's doing very, very good. So.
Yeah, it speaks on the tape, too.
Go to the other rookie, Jarvis Brownlee Jr. We talked a lot about him with Coach Mack, and I just want to reiterate again that this is what you saw on tape. He has good recovery. Even if he maybe gets a little bit out of place or gets beat a little bit deep, he can stay in the hip pocket. What was great about him at the Senior Bowl, Blaine, I watch the defensive backs and the wide receivers, and my friend Stoney, he watches all the trench guys.
It was Stoney or Stormy?
Stoney. Okay. You're thinking Storm Duck.
No, that's what I was messing with you.
But I always watch the receivers and the defensive backs. And Jarvis Brownlee, it didn't matter if it was the 6'5" receiver that was 200-something pounds and way bigger than him, because he's only 5'11", 5'10", maybe is whatever. Or if it was the shifty Ladd McConkey type that's in the slot, Jacob Cowing was out there. He was another one, Jamari Thrash, those smaller guys that run the routes. It didn't matter what size you were, what speed you were. He was one of the more consistent performers every day at Senior Bowl, and he stayed in everybody's hip pocket.
He stayed in their face, too.
Yeah.
And that was one thing you noticed at the Senior Bowl, watching the practices over and over again. He was very consistent performer.
And that's what he was on his college tape, too.
Yeah, and by the way, and I think they're drafting guys also by personalities, which sounds crazy, but he is a dog. He will challenge you. He is a ultimate competitor. He doesn't care who you are. And
this is is what they said.
Yeah, and Tariq Hill and Waddle. Hey, we talking about some of the best in the NFL.
Incredible.
And he went after him.
And part of that is just executing the defensive game plan, which good on Denard Wilson. He had a great bounce back week, I thought. But he did exactly what you needed to do. He kept everything in front of you. He didn't blitz. He made Tyler Huntley, as I've been calling him Snoop Huntley all week. Tyler Huntley made sure that he had to make decisions and get the ball out, and he made it a little bit harder and everything had to be short pretty much because they did a good job taking away the deep stuff. But it is about execution too. And Jarvis Brownlee Jr., you talked about they draft guys off attitude. I've heard him speak a few times, at the Senior Bowl, and I'm like, man, that is a that is a Denard Wilson guy. Mm-hmm. Like, there is no doubt about it. And I look at it and I go, I remember Brian Callahan was, I believe, on the morning show with Ramon, Kayla, and Will, and he talked about he wants guys, it may have been 3HL, but he talked about guys that were team captains, that played in big games and showed up in those big games, and that's what he was looking for. And Jarvis Brownlee Jr. doesn't really have a big game to his name, but he has that leadership quality. That's, I think, how Jalen Harrell got on their radar. I think, Tavondre Sweat turned into a leader, even though everybody wants to forget that part. Mm-hmm. We didn't get the linebackers, L'Jarius Sneed, Quandre Diggs, or Armani Hooker, but we'll do that in tomorrow's show. But the two rookies showed up in big, big spots this week. I'm anxious to see James Williams. I think they should make Blaine. I think they should make James Williams active, and just have 4 plays where they just send him as a heat-seeking missile somewhere on the field at the quarterback. I think that could help with their pass rush woes.
Oh, well, maybe. I don't know if they're going to use him in that format, but yeah, maybe. And also, Brownlee. He was inconsistent coming off the bench. Hard to do when you're a rookie.
Yes.
Once he was the starter, boom, he took off.
Had that preparation, game plan, all that stuff showed up with Jarvis Brownlee Jr. Can't be happier about this, the way that this rookie class is trending right now. 3HL's up next. I'm Zach. He's Blaine. This is Blaine and Zach on 104.5 The Zone. And in the meantime.
And in between time.
Peace.